before we get into
Well, we're live anyway. Sorry, guys. We've been having technical difficulties all night with Josh's computer, so the clips may want to go a bit funky. We're back. If you're listening to us on YouTube at Rings Champion, Twitter at Rings Champion, the YouTube channel Under the Max. Josh, it's WrestleMania week, baby. What's happening here?
I know. We also had a pay-per-view in Cleveland, which you didn't really like, but
I thought it was the worst show I ever watched in my life.
Yeah, we had TNA Rebellion here in Cleveland. That was my first ever TNA show that I've gone to live. I don't know the last time I actually sat down and watched an episode of TNA. So there's that.
Of course, we also had AEW Dynasty this past Sunday. I don't think there's one day where wrestling is not on television at this point.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I did not get to watch AEW Dynasty, so I'm not even going to try and review it. But I do know MJF retained his title against Kenny Omega, and now he will be taking on Darby Allin this coming Wednesday on Dynamite in Everett, Washington. And we will see if MJF remains on top.
And real quick, before we get into WrestleMania, I would like to give a public apology to all the AEW fans out there and to Josh Hunger out there, because I have for the past almost 3 years now, we've been doing this show unbelievably. I've called AEW a minor league company, which on its face, after Saturday night, after watching that abomination of a pay-per-view that total nonstop action put on, that's an insult. I don't know what that was. That was like some mix of an indie / professional / trying to be cool house show that made no sense. And it made AEW's production, which again is good production, but it's not on WWE's level of TV and production, but it made AEW look like the greatest production in sliced bread compared to whatever that was on Saturday night. So I'd like to give a public apology to all you AEW fans out there.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting show. I still can't believe that after the Hardys lost, a bunch of the people actually left.
Because we are a casual wrestling town that came to see the Hardys because they haven't been here in 10 years, and then they lose in about a 5-minute match, and that's after they made us wait for 10 minutes because they showed some video of Abyss, which apparently was him retiring his character, and nobody knew that, and nobody cared because TNA doesn't explain goddamn anything.
No, and I thought they would have some type of video packages or something.
No, and the other thing is, they had it on the little TV monitor. They didn't even have most of the stuff on the big screen.
No, it was like on some side screen, which kept going out throughout most of the matches. And I kept wondering, why are these people having a match? What? I didn't get it. But I thought the matches were good. I thought the matches, for the most part, were good. Some of them had way too much outside interference, especially the Mustafa Ali Trey McGill match. That was the match I was most excited for. And when they actually were wrestling, it was excellent. But just way too much outside interference. And I'm like, save it. You know there's going to be shenanigans in the main event with Mike Santana and Eddie Edwards. And I guess that was Alicia Edwards, but nobody explained that. So it was a good show, but would I go to another TNA event? Probably not.
All right, let's get into WrestleMania. It's been a controversial WrestleMania season. We all know that. Me and you have had heated debates over the direction of this WrestleMania, over the direction of WWE in general. Personally, I think night 2 looks a lot stronger than night 1. I'm excited for pretty much everything on night 2. I'm excited for a couple of things of night 1. we don't have time really to break down every single match and every single storyline. We're gonna take the big hits, and we might as well start with the main event of night one, which features, of course,
Ah,
the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, defending the Undisputed Championship against Randy Orton, and it is now official. We have a graphic ESPN host, former NFL punter, the man who now has the Undisputed WWE Championship in his setup in the Thunderdome in Indianapolis. Pat McAfee will be accompanying the Viper to ringside, Josh.
are you sure it's Cody Rhodes against Randy Orton at WrestleMania?
Well, that's what the graphic says. That's what I have been told.
Yeah, that's what we've been told. That's what the graphic says. But the way they're telling this story, it feels like it's Cody Rhodes against Pat McAfee. I you have no idea. I have been waiting 2 years for this feud and this match, and WWE has completely destroyed it, completely flushed it down the toilet. I hate this. I wanted Cody and Randy to get into their years of history, get into everything with legacy and Cody leaving and all that. We didn't get any of that. It's Pat McAfee, it's ticket sales, it's all this. No, Pat McAfee, get out of this story. No, I hated it. This was the one match I was like, WWE, it is the lowest hanging fruit. There is no way you can, excuse my French, but there is no way you can fuck this up. And guess what? They went and completely screwed it up. There's, I'm pissed. Like, it was the simplest story. I know you say it's part of a bigger story. I don't care. Like, the rumor is they're going to do Jelly Roll and Cody against Pat McAfee and Randy at Backlash. Okay, you can build that story after WrestleMania. I don't get it. How did you screw this up so bad, WWE? How? How?
So let me take, and I promise you, I will not defend this because I agree with you. But I am going to take a little bit of a history lesson about this match and say that there have been feuds in WWE history that have involved celebrities. However, it has not been to the point where they are the main fixture of the story. And I think that is the difference. Because if you remember, let's take, for example, WrestleMania 14 in 1998. That main event had a celebrity, if you will, as the special guest enforcer, who actually made the pinfall for Stone Cold Steve Austin when he defeated Shawn Michaels by the name of Mike Tyson in Stone Cold's first ever victory as the WWE champion. WrestleMania 17, when it was Stone Cold versus The Rock 2, at a time where the business arguably was never bigger. Who interfered in that match? A guy who is no longer in charge of WWE. And we have the Stone Cold heel turn that was a moment similar to the John Cena heel turn at Elimination Chamber last year that never paid off. I was doing a show with a buddy of mine and a friend of ours, Jalen Sandvik, who was on this show a couple weeks ago. And I thought Jalen made a great point when he said this storyline, Cody and Randy, is the exact same storyline they ran last year between Cody and John Cena. It is the exact same thing. Someone from TKO gets involved. You're basically replacing Pat McAfee on a bigger scale with what Travis Scott did a year ago. Randy will probably get the title. They'll turn away from Pat. We'll get a Randy versus Cody SummerSlam match like we were supposed to get here. And I hope that it doesn't go that direction because I don't want an exact repeat of a storyline. My thinking is I think Cody and Randy are going to try their hardest, and there is going to be interference from Pat and probably Joey Roll. But I think we are going to get a good match at least to start between Cody and Randy. And my thinking is that, Pat has made this claim that if Randy Orton loses, he promises he will leave WWE forever. We know what heels do, they lie. And I do think if there is one silver lining that WWE can point to, or at least TKO can point to and say, see, this worked. What this storyline has done is it's made people root for Cody Rhodes
Oh,
and
I'm
not
not.
Randy Orton. And I do think Cody is coming in here now, the baby face, and I do think he will get cheered. When before I did not think that was going to be the case. And I do think night one of WrestleMania 42 ends, and I'm in a very minority here. But I think the way you set up Randy and Pat versus Joey Roll and Cody is you actually have Cody be the one to retain the championship. And Orton wants a rematch for the title. And he's beating down Joey Roll. And maybe how he even punk kicks Joey Roll. And he makes Cody Rhodes basically defend the title against him because he hurt his friend Joey Roll. This also reminds me, oddly, Josh, very similar to Triple H versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 25. When everybody thought Orton was going to take the title from Triple H, and he didn't. Triple H retained the title, and then Orton won it the next night or the next pay-per-view at Backlash 2009 in that six-man tag that was involved Shane McMahon, Batista, and Legacy. I think we could get something similar here.
All that sounds fine, but again, this was the one match I was truly excited for. I'm like, okay, I'm fully gonna be invested, and instead, now I'm just like, why should I care? You have taken the simplest feud and made it way more complicated than it needs to be. There is no reason for Pat McAfee to be involved here. None. They haven't even had a proper promo battle. You had that whole thing with Stephanie McMahon, and guess what? It didn't go anywhere. There was no need for this. Oh, who's the mystery person on the phone? There was no need for any of this. I hate it.
You know what somebody said, and I believe this is true too. You could have had all that stuff. You could have the Stephanie McMahon promo. You could have had the mystery guy on the phone. But what if instead of Pat McAfee as the reveal, it would have been Kevin Owens?
See, that would have made sense. That would have been great. God, I miss Kevin Owens. WWE is not the same without him. I hope they revisit the Kevin Owens, Randy Orton feud at some point. You have no idea how excited I was for that match last year. I was devastated.
Remember my pitch coming out of Elimination Chamber was that Randy was to face Cody, and then at SummerSlam, I had Randy Orton and Kevin Owens being the undisputed title match.
I would love that.
But I mean, at this point, though, I doubt it's going to happen. Listen, night one, 70 and Liv, they're trying to get their heat up, obviously with the brawls they've had. That's been a weird build, surrounded by just them taking shots at their mother. And, again, after the Royal Rumble, I thought Raquel was going to take the title on Stephanie, and they were going to deal with and Raquel at WrestleMania, and they're seemingly saving the Judgment Day feud till maybe the summer. But this may be the start of it where maybe Raquel gets jealous of the fact that Liv has the Women's World Championship, because I think Liv Morgan is cashing in her Women's Royal Rumble opportunity and winning the Women's World Championship.
I'm trying to get invested in this, but I just can't. Liv is good. I'm not like C-Boss, who absolutely hates her. Stephanie, I know her from AEW. You
She
know,
was in AEW? I didn't know that.
yeah.
I had no idea she was in AEW. I thought she came over from WWE, from like that they signed her.
No, she was in AEW, I'm pretty sure. Or she had a couple appearances on AEW or something.
That might have been it. I think she had 2 or 3 appearances in AEW, but I don't know if she ever signed there.
You might be right. She might have been with CMLL. I know she faced Mercedes Monet at Forbidden Door, I believe.
She had a brief appearance in AEW on Collision, and basically that was it. She wrestled 1 match on Collision and then went to WWE.
I know she had a pay-per-view match with Mercedes.
Yep, that was it. That's all she had.
Okay. So I was wrong then, but she's been good as the women's world champion, but
Oh, I disagree. I think she's been awful. I don't think it's her fault because I think they roughshotted her the championship because of Naomi's pregnancy and all of their plans fell flat. And they had no heels on the roster because they're building up all the baby faces for Naomi to face. But I think her promos have gotten worse since she's been champion. I haven't seen the fire in her when she first came up. I think they spotlighted her into it too quickly. I think if you gave her the Women's Intercontinental Championship and let her work her way up, maybe she gets back in my good graces. But I literally cannot wait for Liv Morgan to take the title off her.
I mean, Liv's a better promo than Stephanie. I'll give you that. Overall, am I excited for this match? Not really. I'll be honest with you. Overall, on WrestleMania, there's not that one match where I'm like, oh my God, I need to see that. I think the closest thing for me, even though it was a pivot due to Rey Mysterio not being cleared, although now he's in the ladder match, and Braun Breaker not being healthy, Gunther and Seth Rollins. Like,
wait, that's out of both nights, or are you just talking night one?
Out of both nights.
That's the number one match you're looking forward to out of the whole weekend.
Yes.
I disagree there. Listen, I think this is going to be a great match, but I think it's very clear where this is going. I think Gunther is going to beat up Seth Rollins for Paul Heyman, say that Paul Heyman owes him a favor down the line, and we all know what that favor is going to be. It's going to be Brock Lesnar. I do think it would be interesting, though, if maybe coming out of this, you do make Gunther a Paul Heyman guy. I do not think Paul Heyman is going to get involved in this match. Some people think Braun Breaker is going to get involved, but I don't think you need to have Braun Breaker get involved here. And a lot of people have disagreed with me, but I feel like Gunther retiring John Cena. And again, I know it was going to happen. John Cena was going to retire, but I think the fact that John Cena tapped out, that is Gunther's moment, comparable to Brock Lesnar ending the Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania. And so for me, Gunther doesn't need interference. He's a machine. And Seth Rollins, he's your favorite wrestler. You know, he is one of the best wrestlers in the world. But Gunther said on Raw last night, this is personal because while you were world champion, you were walking around being Paul Heyman's lapdog, essentially, when I made the title great again for this very sport, as Gunther likes to call it, professional wrestling. They sold me too. It's going to be awesome, but I don't think this needs any vision interference. Let these two guys have a great match and let Gunther walk away with a pinfall victory.
See, again, I understand why they made the
You're not muted, Josh. I can't hear you at all.
Really?
Maybe it's on my end. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Yep, keep going. It was on my end. My bad.
Okay. So, again, I understand that they had to pivot and make the change to this because, again, Braun Breaker wasn't medically cleared, and I guess something with Rey Mysterio. Again, he's in the ladder match, so that makes no sense. But nonetheless,
well, maybe they didn't think he was going to get cleared, and then all of a sudden he got cleared because maybe it would have been too close. And then if you book it and he's not cleared, then you don't know what to do.
Right. So, whatever the case, I wish they had made the pivot a little earlier than they did. Yes, they've got me invested. Like I just said, it's the match I'm most interested in. I just wish they had pivoted a little bit earlier so they could tell a little bit more story to it. Because I loved what Gunther said when Seth was like, "Tell me, why is this personal for you if it has nothing to do with Paul Heyman?" I loved that. Um, for me, it was the best thing on Raw last night. Like it was. Um, so I trust me, this is for me, it's not just because it's Seth Rollins, it's not just because it's Gunther, it's because these two, they're at their top of their game. Seth has, well, we don't know if Seth is at the top of his game, but you know who Seth is with, and you know what he can do at WrestleMania. Gunther, as you said, he's retired John Cena. He retired AJ Styles. We've seen what he can do. So, excuse me, I think this is going to be the best match. I'm invested. I just wish they had made the pivot a little earlier. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It probably in ring wise will be the best match unless somehow Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu fall off a scalpel again. Um,
Yeah.
because I mean it is unsanctioned. And listen, I think a big part of it is so night one is going to kick off on ESPN2 with the YouTubers and Austin Theory essentially against the Usos and LA Knight, which you're going to get eyes on the product because ISO Speed and Logan Paul have massive reach. And
by the way, let me
ahead.
just say, I Show Speed, like that's how you use a celebrity. He is playing his role perfectly in this whole thing.
So my thing is, I think he's going to take the pinfall. I think the Vision are going to try to beat him up, and then the Usos and LA Knight make the save, and he walks away a babyface.
Yeah, but I think throughout this whole thing, he has played his role perfectly. I
agree.
I like how they're using him. You know, having LA Knight throw him into his computer. He's begging for Danhausen to uncurse him. You know, just something about the way he has been involved with this. I think it works.
I think McIntyre and Drew will be a very physical match. I think you'll get a lot of people interested in it. Obviously, the extremeness of it. I hope they do more than just use chairs and kendo sticks, and maybe they bring back the cuffs, and maybe it turns into a brawl all over Allegiant Stadium. My hope is that they do not do what AEW has done, which is we're going to start a match on the pre-show, and then we're going to end it on the main show. I don't want them to be like, catch the end of this match on the ESPN app. No, because a lot of people are going to be watching WrestleMania just because they know it's WrestleMania. They're not going to switch over to the app because some people that are going to watch on ESPN2 don't even know what streaming is. You, in my opinion, you are going to have to get this match done within the time limit that you have on regular cable television.
I believe the first hour for WrestleMania is on ESPN2.
That's what I said. Saturday it's on ESPN2. Sunday is on ESPN. And
I wonder if there's going to be commercials on the regular TV broadcast.
Well, I'm sure they're the same as like on the app. You know, when they go to the app and you have the countdown where there's 3 minutes remaining or whatever it is.
No, I'm saying like, will there be commercials during the matches?
No, it's going to be the same when they do it on stream. Like it's just like how they do it commercial on stream. They'll go to a commercial the same way.
Okay.
So I have a theory about how they're going to start night one and night two, even before the matches. I think both nights you start with a John Cena segment. Night one, you have this segment where it's a comedy Cena. And you have R-Truth come out and you say, "Oh, John, I missed you. You're my childhood hero." But then you have Danhausen appear, right? And you have Cena do this sort of act with Danhausen where he can't see Danhausen. You have this funny segment. And by the way, Cena's not in George. He's in a suit and tie because he said he wouldn't wear George again. And then night two, you have serious John Cena because Cena comes out And it immediately comes out when John Cena starts talking. Brock Lesnar. And Lesnar says, John, if you don't get out of this ring, I'm going to kick your ass all over again, just like I did at WrestlePalooza. And who comes out? Oba Femi. And you have a real quick Oba Femi, Brock Lesnar match. Brock goes for the F5, hits it. Oba kicks out. Brock is in shock. He goes for another F5. Oba gets off his back, pushes him off the ropes, fall from grace. 1, 2, 3. Oba Femi wins and gets his hand raised by the you can't me never seen 17 himself, John Cena. Another public endorsement for the next, if you will, big thing, Oba Femi. That's how I would use Cena this weekend.
You would think that's what they're gonna do, but I'm not sure because, like, if WWE has their way, I don't think Brock Lesnar, is losing this match.
Oh, I disagree 100%. I think the only way Oba Femi loses this match is if Oba Femi is the one that you plan to retire Brock Lesnar with and not Gunther. Because I do think Brock Lesnar is going to retire in the main event of SummerSlam in August. Cena has said it, which I think it's very clear that Brock Lesnar has told Cena that's his plan. And do you know how many people you will piss off and disengage with for the start of the show? And they know this. They hear the reaction. And the fact that they are calling Oba Femi the next big thing, the next Brock Lesnar, he's winning this match.
See, do you remember what Paul Heyman said last night? He went into his whole, that's not a prediction, that's a spoiler. And whenever he says that, it usually happens.
Yeah.
Is my screen freezing up again?
Yeah, it is again, buddy.
I don't know what is going on with my computer tonight, man. I have no idea.
Yeah, but you know what else he said? Paul Heyman said that this is the real main event of WrestleMania. And he also said, I have not seen anybody come into WWE the way Oba Femi has besides Brock Lesnar. And he even opened his door. He said, after Brock Lesnar beats you, Oba Femi, we can become clients. And obviously, Oba Femi said no. But Oba Femi can speak good English. He got a phenomenal promo. This guy is him. By next year's WrestleMania, whether it takes place in Saudi Arabia or not, depending on what's going over there right now, I think you may have a WrestleMania main event where maybe you have Oba Femi versus Gunther for one of the world titles. I think this guy could be a world champion by SummerSlam.
That should be the way it goes. I just don't trust WWE to do the right thing.
So I think this six-pack ladder match is going to be crazy. You got 3 luchadors in there. You've got Rusev in there, who's been basically brought back to be put in catering, poor guy. You got JD McDonough in there, who maybe now that the Judgment Day is sort of breaking all on their own, maybe JD can get a spotlight here, and maybe this is the kickstart to his run in the mid-card. Ultimately,
and don't forget Javon Evans.
Javon Evans is going to absolutely jump through the building. Ultimately, I know this is non-traditional for a ladder match, but I think Penta is going to retain the title.
I could see it. I could also see them pulling the trigger and putting the title on Javon.
Yeah, I mean, this would be a way if you want to protect Penta to get the title off of Penta, but I also think that they want to make Penta a big star, and this is also going to be on ESPN. Not that Javon Evans isn't a big star, but Penta is a bigger star. He's been in the WWE longer. You have more time with Javon Evans, and you want to present, I think, Penta to a national audience like he's the next Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, I could see it, but WrestleMania is where you try to make new stars, and what better way than to have Javon Evans win a freaking ladder match.
I agree, but is Penta not a new star to most of the WWE audience? I know you're going to say no, but I believe he's new to most of their eyes.
He's been around WWE for a little bit now.
I mean, he's been around a little bit over a year, and you're going to have people that have never seen him before because while he was on WrestleMania last year, it was kind of quick in that fatal four-way for the IC title. This is your chance being on ESPN to, again, really present him as the next major lucha star in WWE.
You're right, and I think that's part of the reason why they put Rey Mysterio in this match as well. By the way, I'm glad they are not doing the mask versus mask El Grande Americano versus El Grande Americano match at WrestleMania. Excuse me. Although I wish Chad Gable was actually having a match at WrestleMania, but whatever. That's another subject for another day. But I just think Javon Evans, it seems like they're putting the time and investment into him, so why not give him a title?
Yeah, I think night 2 is going to be all about the young stars. Obafemi, Javon Evans, to your point, and Trick Mother effing Williams.
Okay, let me get into this because this is the second match I'm most interested in. It goes Rollins, Gunther, and then Sammy Trick, because I think this is where you cement the heel turn for Sammy. And I don't want to say the baby face, because I don't think Trick is ever going to be a true baby face. I think he's going to be more of a tweener, but I think this is the match where you cement the heel turn for Sammy. I'm so disappointed that Carmelo Hayes is not in this match. Like, I get why
because I think you can't really do the double turn if you're in a triple threat. I think they're going to do the triple threat at Backlash with Sammy as a full heel.
Fair, you can. I understand what you're saying, but man, I like Trick and Carmelo have so much history with each other. Mello and Sammy now have history. So the triple threat at WrestleMania would have been so damn good. And I hate that. Again, I understand why they did it, but I hate that they took the title off of Mello. Like, you could have made this a triple threat easily.
It would again. I think it's a better match saved for Backlash. You know, I get why they did it here. As much as Carmelo's gained momentum, I think this match is all about Trick, and I think you want the spotlight as much on Trick as possible, which is where the singles match helps out. And I don't think, like, you don't even necessarily have to do the official heel turn of Sami Zayn specifically at WrestleMania. I think what you could do is you have Trick winning, you see Sammy distraught and peeved off again that they're booing him. And then on Friday, if you want to create a moment for the SmackDown after WrestleMania, that's when you have Sammy officially turn heel. I think you can plant the seeds, and you can do it at WrestleMania if you want, but I don't think it necessarily has to be at WrestleMania.
I think Trick has come on to the main roster, and he has just planted his flag like, yeah, I'm the next big guy. Not in the same way Oba is, obviously, but Trick is well on his way to becoming one of the top stars in WWE. I think they're going to give him a run with the U.S. Championship, and it won't be long till he gets either the WWE Championship or maybe he switches brands over to Monday Night Raw and gets the World Heavyweight Championship. I think by the end of the year, maybe even early into 2027, he's going to be a world champion.
I think the last match I really want to break down in depth because the Demon, I think, is going to be Dom. and I don't really care about Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill as long as Rhea Ripley wins.
Wait,
Um,
can I
Go
want to
ahead.
get into Demon versus Dom a little bit
Go
because
ahead.
this is another match where I was like, I am very invested. Like Finn Balor and Dom, they're gonna get into how Finn is like, I brought you into the Judgment Day. I took you under my wing, and we became one of the most dominant factions. And this is another one where they didn't really do that. And I'm like, what? Why?
I think
Uh,
part of it is I think Dom's hurt, to be
yeah,
honest with you, because Dom hasn't been since they did the angle. I don't even think Dom's been in the ring.
like they were supposed to do Finn Balor versus JD McDonough, or as I like to call him, JD McDonut, on a recent episode of, I almost said Dynamite, on a recent episode of Raw, and they didn't actually do that match. It turned into an angle. But the other thing is, why spoil the demon? Just
I
have
agree
it
with
be,
that. I
have
agree.
it be a surprise. But my other thing is, like, you could have saved the demon for the second match or the third match between them. Like, why are we using the demon on the first match between Dom and Balor?
Well, so then Finn can beat Dom, so Dom can say, I didn't face Finn Balor. I faced the demon. I want to face Finn Balor now."
And by the way, we didn't see Finn Balor on the show at all last night. And the only thing we got in reference to this match was a backstage segment between Dominic Mysterio and Adam Pearce. And I'm just like, seriously? Like, that's all we get for Finn versus Dom? I'm sorry, but no.
So the
Hold on one
match that
second. I
go
have to
ahead.
use the
Sorry.
restroom.
All right. Well, while Josh is doing that, Josh, let me know when you come back because we're gonna get into the match that I am most excited for WrestleMania Sunday and WrestleMania for the whole weekend. And Josh will like this, but I'm sorry, Phil. Your reign since November 1st as the World Heavyweight Champion is up because the Tribal Chief, the OTC, Roman Reigns, a man who I was cheering for at the TNA Rebellion event because I couldn't stand watching that TNA show anymore. But they have brought in the ticket sales. They have brought in the Pat McAfee storyline, and Roman Reigns has said enough of that BS. We didn't have that BS. We weren't talking about ticket sales. We weren't talking about NFL partners being involved in storylines, Phil, when I was the champion. And yeah, I graciously gave up my spot when I lost to Cody Rhodes, and I let him finish his story at WrestleMania 40. And since then, yeah, maybe if I become a little bit soft, um, you know, it's like, yeah, you know, I watched the match to Seth Rollins and CM Punk at WrestleMania 41. I let Jey Uso get the pinfall victory against Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed at SummerSlam. I got squashed by Bronson Reed at Clash in Paris. But Roman Reigns, in my mind, has returned at the Royal Rumble with a different purpose and a different vengeance. And yes, these are two guys who were together in the main event of night one of WrestleMania 41 last year, along with Seth Rollins. But this has nothing to do with Paul Heyman. This has nothing to do with Seth Rollins. This is completely different. This is two guys who have decades of history with each other, two guys that don't like each other, two guys who are jealous of the other's success, and both have legitimate points about it.
And they kind of addressed that in the main event angle of Raw last night.
And they did. And originally, when they were getting the Usos involved, I thought, oh, could we get a Bloodline reunion? Could the Usos get involved here? No, they're not. This is going to be an hour plus, I believe, between entrances. I think they're both going to get a special entrance. introductions, all that good stuff. But I think at the end of the day, and again, Josh, I know you'll like this. Sorry, Phil, but your reign as the Whatever champion is over because we have never seen.
Oh no, I would love that if his championship reign came to an end.
That's what I mean. We have never seen babyface Roman Reigns be successful as the world champion in charge of WWE. And I believe we're about to see it because I think the end of night two ends with the pyro going off, the confetti going down, and the Roman Empire is back on top of WWE.
Yeah, they've actually done a good job of keeping me invested. I've told this to you. You know, the reason I like non-title feuds better is because generally a championship feud is just, oh, these two are, feuding because it's over the championship. Okay, there's nothing else there. Whereas with non-title feuds, it feels like there's more substance. It feels like they get more personal, more intense. There's more like overall to it. Whereas like with this feud, it doesn't feel like it's just about the championship. It feels like there's a lot more substance and ferocity and all that type of stuff. So I actually like this feud. It reminds me of like when MJF and Bryan Danielson had their feud going into Revolution a couple years ago, where it wasn't just about the championship. It was extremely personal between MJF and Danielson. Like MJF was cutting promos about Danielson's kids, Buddy and Birdie, and I'm like, this is what I want. Don't just make it about the championship. Like, add more to it. And that's what I like so much about this Punk Roman stuff. Although I do wonder if they don't have any more. Not in terms of like in the ring work, but like last night I was like, okay, that was fine, but it didn't get me any more interested in the match.
Well, it didn't have to be. That was like a final promo. That was last words, right? It was just sort of we've said everything we've had to say. This is the truth about both of us. And I think that this could potentially end even with a mutual parting of ways. And this is about who the best in the world is, to steal a line from Punk. And I think the loser of this match, quite frankly, is going on a long vacation. And I think it's possible Punk wins. But I've said this. If Punk wins, this is my concern. I have no idea. Roman is on such a different level, and he's almost feuded with everybody. The only other direction you could go with him would be the Vision, but you can't really do that because Seth Rollins is feuding with the Vision. Where do you go with Roman if he doesn't win the title? I don't know. And there are so many possibilities. You could have Roman Obafemi, Roman Braun Breaker, Roman Seth Rollins. You got to run that feud back at some point. There are so many more possibilities. I believe you can have Roman as champion right now than Punk.
Yeah, I would agree with you. There we go. Again, sorry for all my technical difficulties. Something wacky is going on with my computer. I try to get it solved at some point. But nonetheless, I think it's the right time to put the title on Roman. And I think you can tie it back to everything with Jey Uso because he seems to be going through some type of transformation, and maybe you tie it into that.
Yeah, I mean, as they always say with the bloodline, we're in the third inning with this thing. But that'll be it. Let's wrap it up, Josh, because you're having some technical difficulties. Hopefully you get your computer fixed by next week, because with the changes that WrestleMania has made by pushing WrestleMania back, this is arguably in our content space the 10 busiest days of the year. From this whole week with WrestleMania previews to the NBA playoff previews. Next week, we got to recap WrestleMania. The NBA playoffs are here. And guess what? The NFL draft is next week.
That's right. And we also have the Stanley Cup playoffs getting underway. I know you're not a big hockey fan, but there's no damn way I'm not going to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs on this show. We got the Battle of Pennsylvania. Penguins, Flyers, the Buffalo Sabres are back in the Stanley Cup playoffs. There's a lot to discuss. The Florida Panthers are not in the playoffs, so they will not be able to reach.
Whoa, I didn't know that. They're not going for a three-peat, huh?
Nope. So they are out. We will have a new champion. So there is no way I am not discussing the Stanley Cup playoffs.
So make sure you tune in all the great stuff, not only on here, but on VoltageLineMedia.org. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great night. Enjoy everything this weekend. And peace.